Hello, horror fans. Welcome back to Jay vs. Horror. I am your host, Jay Wall, and today, guys, we're going to be talking about 5 more awesome horror movies you can watch for free. We're going to tell you a little bit about the movie, we're going to show you the trailer to the movie, and then we're going to put the link to the film in the description. So if you see something you like, you just cruise down to that description here in the video and click the direct link to the film, and you can watch it anytime. Now, the films we're talking about today can be found on the Tubi.com app for your phone or your laptop or whatever it is you're using to watch your movies on. However, if you do not have Tubi in your country or region yet, then these are still great recommendations, guys. So, without further ado, let's get started. At number 5 this week, I have a little bit of a thriller here. It's called Unlawful Entry. It's a 1992 American psychological thriller film directed by Jonathan Kaplan, and it stars Kurt Russell, Madeline Stowe, and Ray Liotta. The film involves a couple who befriend a lonely policeman only for him to develop an unrequited fixation on the wife, leading to chilling consequences. Ray Liotta was actually nominated for an MTV Movie Award for Best Villain in 1993 for his portrayal of the psychopathic cop. And another little fact a lot of people don't know, this film was actually remade in Bollywood as Fareb in 1996. Unlawful Entry gets forgotten about because it came from an era where there were a ton of these films. There were a ton of psychological thrillers, and for the most part, they came in 3 different types. There was your serial killer thriller, which are films like Silence of the Lambs and Seven. There was your psychological, sexual, erotic thriller like Basic Instinct, Fatal Attraction, Final Analysis, those types of films. And then there was this other weird type of psychological thriller that came about in the 90s, which was a basic setup of someone you know in your life that you can't necessarily just easily get rid of starts harassing you and stalking you. And there were a ton of these films. I include Cape Fear in this, even though it's a remake, because it's a person that shows up into their life that they can't get away from. I include The Hand That Rocks the Cradle in this bunch of films, and also films like Unlawful Entry. I mean, it was basically always there was someone in your life that was a psycho, and it was like your mailman or your local police officer. It was somebody that you were going to have to deal with. Unlawful Entry starts out with Michael and Karen Carr, played by Kurt Russell and Madeline Stowe, and they are a couple who are pretty rich, and they're living in the upscale part of Los Angeles. One night, an intruder enters their home through their skylight, and this upsets their basic tranquility. And as an ex-police officer, I can tell you it's always a traumatic event when someone breaks into your house. They invade your personal space, and a lot of people have trouble moving on with their regular life after an event like this. After this takes place, the Carrs contact the police, and this is where they meet Officer Pete Davis, played by Ray Liotta, who takes an extra interest in their case. He cuts through the department's red tape and quickly helps them install a security system in their house. Shortly after this, Michael goes on a ride-along with Pete where he witnesses Pete routinely abuse his power as a police officer, and he also even attacks a man with a nightstick and beats him severely. Now, after all this, Michael tells Pete, "We're not interested in being your friend and you need to get some help." So begins the I will not be ignored stage of this well-made psychological thriller. It's an interesting film. Kurt Russell kind of plays the soft in the middle rich guy who can't really protect his wife, and Ray Liotta is represented as the manly man who just happens to be a psychopath. This is one of the first films I remember seeing Ray Liotta in after Goodfellas, and he made a couple good films in this era, Unlawful Entry and No Escape and a couple others, but he kind of fizzled out towards the end of the 90s, and he never really hit that megastar mark. Guys, I'm going to give Unlawful Entry 7.5 out of 10, and while it may not be considered a top-tier psychological horror film from the 1990s, I don't think it's far behind some of those bigger names like Silence of the Lambs and Basic Instinct. Alright, horror fans, let's take a look at the trailer for 1992's Unlawful Entry.
You know how I feel? Watching a man come into my own home, attack my own wife, and I can't do anything about it? never gonna be in that position again.
Oh, Michael.
Hey.
Do you remember Officer Davis? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, how you doing? I didn't recognize you out of uniform. Hey, I'm gonna make sure that your block's patrolled all night long. Would you like to go get a cup of coffee? You're safe with me. I'm a cop, remember? What's going on?
What the hell are you talking about?
You and Pete. He wants you. He thinks you want him. We're staying away from this guy. You got it? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to scare you. How do I get a cop off my back? Here it is. 5,000. You walk away and don't mess with my wife. Bribe, Mikey. Call it whatever you want, Pete. I don't know what's going on with Michael. He's losing it.
This guy's a decorated officer you're accusing.
I don't care how many medals he has. I want this taken care of.
He's making up these stories.
You think maybe you're overreacting a little bit?
He threatened to kill me last night. How do you suggest I react to that?
These wild accusations about me.
Mr. Carr, is there something personal in this?
I told you he was dangerous. What's it gonna take? Me in a body bag?
And anything I seem to do makes it worse.
I got a cop who wants my wife. Stay here and lock the door. Do it!
She's all alone, Mikey.
Turn! Michael!
But not for long.
At number 4, Sadistic Intentions. It's a 2018 psychological thriller slash horror film written and directed by Eric Pennycoff. It stars Taylor Zotke, Jeremy Gardner, and Michael Patrick Nicholson. Now guys, I am a big Jeremy Gardner fan, so when I heard that this film was announced, I was very interested. It ended up being about 2.5 years from that point until I was actually able to see the movie. If you're not familiar with Jeremy Gardner, check him out, guys. Everything he's been in is pretty damn good. This film revolves around a psychotic musician who lures a fellow bandmate and an unsuspecting woman to a remote mansion for a night of romantic deceit and grinding metal mayhem. Now, I'm going to be honest with you horror fans, not everyone loved this film. In fact, most people didn't, but I thought it was pretty interesting. It doesn't have your usual story. It doesn't have your usual setup. It doesn't have your usual ending. The film revolves around a heavy metal rock star who has hit a creative block, or what they call an art attack. He feels like this is due to the fact that he's never done a lot of the hardcore things that he sings about. So the big plan is to murder someone and get the creative juices flowing again. Like I said, guys, this one's not for everyone. It is a slow burn, and it does spend a lot of time just on dialogue. I gave the film 6.5 out of 10, and I will say this, if you're looking for something new and different, it's definitely worth a watch. Guys, let's take a look at the trailer for Sadistic Intentions.
Hello?
I'm so sorry. I'm Chloe. I'm Kevin's friend.
Stu, also Kevin's friend.
Kevin said you were visiting family or something?
No, I'm just here for band practice. Hey, Kevin, we're just wondering where the hell you're at, man.
It's kind of spooky out here.
Yeah, it's, atmospheric.
Just tell me about your band. What's the name of this band?
Morbid Annihilator. Metal used to be intimidating, you know? It used to be dangerous.
What are we doing?
I want to make you scream. What?
At number 3, Darkness Falls. It's a 2003 supernatural horror film written by Joe Harris and John Fasano and directed by Jonathan Liebesman. The film stars Chaney Clay and Emma Caulfield. The film follows Kyle Walsh, who witnesses his mother's murder at the hands of a vengeful spirit lynched by an angry mob more than 150 years prior. 12 years after that, Kyle returns to his childhood home because Michael Green, the young brother of his romantic interest, Caitlin, is being stalked by the same malevolent spirit. Kyle must protect them both from its power and put an end to its ongoing killing spree. The film has its own backstory, but it also kind of plays with the idea that the spirit is an evil version of the Tooth Fairy, which I enjoyed quite a bit. I think this is a great movie for kids. It will scare the hell out of them, but it's not too far over the top. So I would recommend this to watch with your kids if they're like ages 12 to 15. They're going to love it. Yes, the film is a little schlocky, but I think it holds up pretty good for a movie made 18 years ago. Guys, let's take a look at the trailer for Darkness Falls.
Over 150 years ago, in the town of Darkness Falls, Matilda Dixon was adored by all the children. Whenever one of them lost a tooth, they would bring it to her in exchange for a gold coin, earning her the name, the Tooth Fairy. But when 2 children didn't come home, they blamed Matilda, and they hanged her in the light. Now, they thought the past was dead and buried, but it's about to come back with a vengeance.
You don't know what you're dealing with.
Tooth Fairy?
What the hell was that?
I see these things at night. I don't know what's real or what's not.
She won't come in the light.
Who?
You know who.
We stay in the light, we stay alive.
Just walk towards my voice. Come on, it's just 3 steps.
How close is it?
This winter, evil rises. Darkness falls.
At number 2, The Reaping. It's a 2007 American psychological horror thriller film starring Hilary Swank, Idris Elba, David Morrissey, and Stephen Ray. Great cast here, guys. The film was directed by Stephen Hopkins, and it was not a huge success at the box office, but it also wasn't a failure. It was made for around $40 million, and it brought back 62, so that's a nice little $22 million check to put in your pocket. The film follows Catherine Winter and her colleague Ben, played by Hilary Swank and Idris Elba, and what they do is investigate claims of miracles and try to debunk them. Now, they get a call about a little town named Haven in Louisiana where the river has turned red, and of course from here, the small town of Haven starts to undergo all the plagues that God unleashed on Egypt. So this is one of those films where the audience is constantly trying to figure out what is going on, what is happening in this small town. Is it religious? Is it supernatural? We really don't know for the bulk of the movie, and we're given a ton of red herrings. There's talk of Satanist and voodoo and all kinds of weird stuff that could be going on that could have angered God. Of course, like with all these films, there is always more to the story. I like The Reaping, guys. It's not the greatest horror film of all time, but it is interesting, and I think it holds up pretty good after 15 years. Let's take a look at the trailer for The Reaping.
Father?
I think God has sent me a message.
What happened?
Catherine, you're gonna think I'm crazy. He wants me to warn you. I believe you're in danger.
Catherine, this is Doug Blackwell.
Professor? I'm from a place called Haven. I'm hoping you can help us with our problem. Folks are worried that this is a plague.
As in Old Testament plague? I've investigated 48 miraculous occurrences with 48 scientific explanations.
I understand you're not much of a Bible reader. Some folks just don't want to go to heaven.
There's things going on now. You just better prepare yourself. Is it blood?
The whole damn river.
The folks in town think there might be 9 more plagues on the way.
You're in great danger. Everyone is.
Are you gonna kill my baby?
No.
Why not?
Catherine, what are you doing?
Ending this.
At number 1, Death Proof. It's a 2007 American exploitation slasher film written and directed by Quentin Tarantino. And we bookended this show with Kurt Russell because this film also stars Kurt Russell as stuntman Mike, who murders young women in staged car accidents using his death-proof stunt car. It also co-stars Rosario Dawson, Jordan Ladd, Rose McGowan, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, and of course, Zoe Bell. Death Proof was released theatrically in the United States as part of a double feature with Robert Rodriguez's Planet Terror under the collective title Grindhouse. This was done to recreate the experience of viewing exploitation film double features in a grindhouse type theater. Now here, guys, once again, I'm going to be completely honest with you. A great number of people hate Death Proof. They think it's one of the worst movies ever. I, however, do not. I enjoy this film. It's not the greatest of all time, but it is a lot of fun. And this is also one of my wife's favorite movies, so yes, I have seen it a number of times. My favorite part of this film, however, is Zoe Bell. Getting to see her star in a movie as herself is pretty awesome to me. If you don't know who Zoe is, she's one of the best stunt women of all time, and she's Quentin Tarantino's go-to. I mean, probably about 30% of those Kill Bill movies, that's not Uma Thurman, that's Zoe Bell you're seeing on screen. She's Australian, she's beautiful, and she's tough as hell, and I really enjoyed seeing her get her first film role where she doesn't have to pretend to be somebody else. She also did another fun movie a few years after this that I've never recommended on this show because I haven't been able to find it for free, and that's the only reason. The film is titled Raised, and it's about a bunch of women who are kidnapped and wake up to find that they are put in like a Mortal Kombat type situation where they have to fight each other to the death. And that film also stars Doug Jones, Sherilyn Fenn, and Rachel Nichols. It's a very fun movie, so if you ever get a chance, check that one out. Raised, and it's spelled R-A-Z-E. But back to this film, guys. Yes, I do enjoy Death Proof, even though it's not my favorite film of all time. I think what slows it down is the opening. There's a long sequence in this bar where it's a lot of dialogue, and a lot of people hate that about Quentin Tarantino movies when he goes into these super long scenes where everyone's talking but nothing's really happening. I will say this, though. When he does that in a movie, there's usually a big bang at the end of that sequence. Guys, I'm going to give Death Proof 7.5 out of 10. I think there's a lot to like about this film. It has a great cast. Of course, it has a great director. And even though, yes, the story is split up, and that's a little bit weird for one of these movies, I think it's a great homage to exploitation and grindhouse films. So without further ado, guys, let's take a look at the trailer for 2007's Death Proof.
Is there anybody in this place you could vouch for to give me a ride home?
Fair lady, your chariot awaits.
Is it safe?
Oh, it's better than safe. It's death proof.
1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, rock. 5, 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, rock. 9, 10, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, rock. We're gonna rock around the clock tonight. Put the flag flags up. Join me home. Have some fun. When the sun strikes, we're gonna rock.
Alright, horror fans, that's all we've got for this episode. Now, don't forget to like and subscribe, and check us out on Patreon. If you could donate a couple bucks to the channel, we would appreciate it. Now, we've got some different shows coming up. We're going to be talking to some other podcasters and showrunners and doing some counterpoint arguments about horror films and also some more top 10 lists and stuff that's fun. So, as always, guys, we will talk to you the next time we've got something worth talking about. Bye.